Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling some really big questions: sex, destiny, love, consciousness, a lot.
We are, and we're doing it through, well, a single, very rich source, the book Sex and Destiny.
Right, dictated by the spirit André Luiz, psychographed by Francisco Candido Xavier. So this is basically our way to get you up to speed on some pretty profound ideas within this one book.
Exactly. And, the book's in two parts, one by Waldo Vieira, the other by Xavier, but we're pulling insights from the whole thing. It really digs into how our choices,
But especially around relationships and, well, desires.
how they shape our spiritual path, our
Yeah.
destiny, not just now, but what comes after.
Okay, so let's jump right into a big one. This idea the book presents life as a two-part journey.
Yeah. What happens here on Earth is like phase one.
It's just the beginning.
Right. And phase two unfolds after, physical death. And the key mechanism for real change, for transformation, reincarnation.
It uses that image, doesn't it, of larva changing form after the cocoon. Makes you think, like, what we are now isn't the final version at all.
Not at all. And what's really striking about that transition is how the book describes it. It's like you immediately meet your own conscience.
Ah, so not some judge up in the sky, but more internal.
Exactly. An internal reckoning, sort of. And flowing from that is this concept of redemption. People who made, let's say, serious mistakes but have genuinely changed. They can actually become guides, messengers of redemption themselves. It really drives home how precious this physical life is, no matter the circumstances.
Yeah, the book says something like, even a body that's crawling or deformed, mutilated or sickly, it still offers huge opportunity.
Invaluable opportunities, yeah.
Okay, let's make this more concrete. The book uses stories, case studies. What about Nev? He's a spirit watching his family, right?
Yes, Neves. It's quite a painful scenario. He's watching his daughter, Beatriz, who's very ill, and his son-in-law, Nemesio.
And Nemesio is not being faithful.
Not at all. He's involved with Marina while Beatrice is suffering terribly. It's this stark contrast, Nemesio chasing pleasure.
Well, Beatrice is enduring it all, but still deeply connected to her father, Neves, who's in spirit form.
Exactly. And there's this detail, these sparks of light coming from Neves as he tries to comfort her across that veil. It really shows that love connection enduring.
Which kind of begs the question, why doesn't Neves or other spirits just step in more forcefully?
Well, the book tackles that. It brings up hypnosis and influence. It suggests that, yes, discarnate beings can influence our thoughts, our feelings, but ultimately, our choices are still ours. The consequences land on us. There's the example of Claudio.
Right, he's being sort of nudged by a spirit entity towards Marita.
Yeah, heavily influenced.
Yeah.
But the interesting part is Claudio still sees these influencing entities as like friends or helpers. He doesn't perceive the manipulation.
So we're not just puppets then. And the book argues that higher spiritual help often holds back from, like, yanking people apart.
Kind of. It compares it to, say, not forcibly separating parents from who might be ungrateful or difficult. The idea is to understand the roots of these connections, these attachments, not just sever them.
Which leads to that idea about responsibility.
Yeah.
That it's linked to how much you know.
Precisely. Responsibility has the size of knowledge. The more aware you are, spiritually speaking, the greater your accountability. It mentions rulers, people in authority. They carry a heavier weight. And the consequences just sort of unfold automatically.
Okay, let's shift perspective then to Marita. Her story gives us another angle on all this.
Definitely. We see her vulnerabilities. She feels rejected. She has these maybe slightly unrealistic romantic ideas.
And she gets involved with Gilberto and Claudio.
And then there's that moment she overhears Gilberto and Marina. The betrayal hits hard. And then Claudio moves in, but his actions are manipulative.
Fueled by that discarnate influence we mentioned. And jealousy towards Gilberto.
Exactly. So Marita's caught. She has her desires, but also her conscience is bothering her. A real internal conflict.
And this is where the idea of obsession really comes through strongly. How these discarnate entities can latch on.
Very vividly. There's a scene where Claudio is interacting with Marita, and the book describes it almost like two masculine personalities in one representation.
Wow. Intense.
Yeah, driven by, base instincts and the strong mutual pull. It really highlights how powerful and complex these unseen influences can be.
Let's circle back to Nemesio for a second, the unfaithful husband. His story seems to illustrate the pitfalls of pure materialism.
Absolutely. Even with Beatrice dying, his focus seems to be on well, fleeting pleasures, keeping up appearances.
Which the book contrasts with a deeper kind of joy, right? The
Yeah.
spiritual side of love and marriage, something that apparently gets better with time.
Yeah, a fulfillment that time seasons and makes sweeter, unlike those fleeting physical pursuits.
But it's not all bleak. There's hope, too, isn't there? Through love, forgiveness, redemption.
Oh, definitely. Take Morera. He's the spirit entity who is influencing Claudio, pushing him towards Marita.
The obsessor.
Right. But then Marita has this terrible accident.
Which we should probably get into.
Yes. And after that, Morera completely changes. He becomes incredibly dedicated, selflessly caring for Marita. It's quite a turnaround.
Shows that help, or maybe change, can come from places you'd least expect.
Exactly. And that ties into the bigger picture of cause and effect, or karma, as it's often called.
Reap what you sow.
Basically, yes. Both the good and the bad. The book mentions these debts from past lives and how spiritual guides try to help us make better choices now to sort of balance the books. And again, reincarnation is the main stage for all this learning.
They even mention statistics, don't they, from this Alma Serma's place, about how well people actually do in fulfilling their goals for a particular life.
Yeah, the success rates and the consequences for those who don't manage to follow through on their commitments. It really underscores that our choices here have long-term significance.
So it's this huge canvas stretching across lifetimes.
Yeah.
And the book seems to say, don't look for shortcuts, but also holds out this promise.
A promise of future balance, yeah. That eventually past wrongs will be righted. Everyone will get a fair shake in their reincarnations. This moral law will ultimately prevail. It's quite optimistic, really.
What about destiny itself? Is it all set in stone?
Not entirely, it seems. The book suggests that while there might be, like, general plans for when a physical life might end,
Okay.
our actions, our choices can actually change that timeline. It uses this interesting analogy about time being like bank credit.
Credit you can earn or lose based on how you behave.
Pretty much. Like a debtor whose credit line can be adjusted. It really puts the power back in our hands, doesn't it? We can shape things.
The book also has this perspective on suffering, not just pointless pain, but
An opportunity.
Yeah.
A chance for reflection, for spiritual growth. It comes through really clearly in the prayer said for Marita after her accident. It reframes the whole experience.
And speaking of that accident, it triggers massive changes, right? Especially in Claudio.
Huge changes. He goes from this manipulated, obsessive guy to someone filled with genuine remorse, suddenly open to spiritual understanding. It's a complete turnaround.
And then there's Morera, the former obsessor, now acting as this selfless caregiver. That's just as surprising.
It really is. Unexpected redemption all around.
And we also get this revelation about Priscilla.
Oh, yes. Claudio's mother. She appears, and her reaction isn't sorrow over his physical state after the accident, but profound joy at his spiritual awakening.
Shows that kind of deep maternal love that just goes beyond the physical circumstances.
Absolutely. But, even with all this change and potential healing, the book doesn't gloss over the past.
How so?
Well, even with Marina and Gilberto seemingly moving on, expecting a child, there's still this reminder of the partially diseased root.
Meaning the unresolved stuff from the past, the original issues, that they're still there under the surface.
Exactly. The past still casts a shadow, influencing the present. It's not a clean break always.
And supporting spirits through all this are these institutions like Almas Hermans and Casa de Providencia.
They're described as places that help spirits prepare for reincarnation and also help them adjust afterwards, dealing with all sorts of issues, working collaboratively. It shows a whole spiritual support structure.
And finally, maybe the most mind-bending part, the past life connections.
Oh, yeah. Beatrice has this regression, right? And it opens up this whole historical drama.
Stretching back centuries, involving figures like Brights Castanera, Justiniano, Leonor de Fonseca Tellez.
Alvaro, too. It reveals these incredibly complex, interwoven relationships and unresolved conflicts carrying over through multiple lives.
So our present lives might be echoing things from way, way back.
That's definitely the implication. These stories and concepts in Sex and Destiny, they really paint a picture of life being shaped by forces we see, like our choices, but also by these unseen spiritual dynamics and echoes from history.
So let's try to wrap this up. We've seen how the book links our choices, especially around love, sex, desire, directly to our spiritual path, our destiny.
The huge role of conscience, taking responsibility, the chance for redemption, and this constant learning curve through reincarnation.
And finding love and transformation in unexpected ways, while also seeing how our past actions and relationships just keep reverberating.
Yeah, this whole deep dive into Sex and Destiny, it really gives you a different way to think about the forces shaping things, the seen and the unseen.
It definitely makes you think about your own life, maybe in ways you hadn't considered before.
For sure. It prompts that question, how might my own choices, my attachments, be influencing my own spiritual journey?
Right. So here's a final thought for you listening. Take a moment and consider that. What subtle ways might your choices and attachments be shaping your path? What unseen influences, maybe even past connections, could be playing a role in your life right now?
Reflect on that idea of responsibility, the possibility of redemption, and, the potential for real transformation we've talked about.
And honestly, if any of this sparks something for you, we definitely recommend checking out the source itself, Sex and Destiny. It's quite the journey for personal reflection.